Hello there and welcome to yet another episode of Regular Beer Reviews, where regular doesn't refer to the beers being reviewed, but to the reviewer, myself. I'm Jesse, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing a beer that I've never had before, from a brewery that I've never had anything from before. I've heard briefly about this brewery. This is from Dixie Brewing Company. This is their Blackened Voodoo Lager. Now, I've seen couple of their beers around. I've never really tried anything from this brewery, but let's look at the numbers. Oh yeah, Blackened Voodoo Lager, as the name would suggest, is out of this is from the Dixie Brewing Company out of New Orleans, Louisiana. The Beer Advocate gives this a 77, which is just okay, and that's with 574 ratings. Rate Beer gives this a 37 overall, with a 33 for the style, so those numbers are pretty low. And the Bros give this nothing because they've never had it. It has an ABV of 5% and an availability that is year-round. A quick description from Rate Beer says, brewed for Dixie Brewing Company by Joseph Huber during the brewery renovation. And it says brewed in the EU as well. So couldn't really find a lot of information about this beer online other than the reviews I read, which gives me a good idea of what the beer is going to be about. But let me just read what it says on the bottle here. It says, inspired by our old world brewing methods, this bewitching all malt brew is a darkly rich exotic lager crafted with a touch of magical New Orleans spirit. The century-old Dixie Brewing was almost destroyed by Hurricane Katrina, but restoration is underway. With the help of our friends, we're working hard to re-beer New Orleans and the rest of the country. So hopefully this, let me see, I didn't see a freshness date on here anywhere, but hopefully it should be alright. 5% ABV, I'll know pretty quickly if it's spoiled. So I'm just going to go on ahead and get this cracked open and let's see what we got. Just a plain gold cap, which I never save the caps, but I do like to see when a cap is really intriguing and really intricate in design. So it's always nice to see, but a plain gold cap doesn't really give a lot away about the integrity of the beer. You know, I mean, I've had some beers with just plain caps that are amazing. So let's see how this is. A nice pour here. Doesn't look overly carbonated. Well carbonated, but wouldn't say overly carbonated. I didn't get a gusher there. I'd say that's like a sweet tea color. Very light brown, kind of like a mid amber or something, like a light amber. Oh, you know, you wouldn't call it a dark amber. Anyway, kind of a light tea color. Got some red tinges coming through there. Seems, like I said, I wouldn't say overly, but well carbonated. This is, I'm seeing a lot of bubbles streaming up. For well carbonation, which is pretty high, I'd say, not a lot of head. It had about a half finger, which quickly diminished to about a quarter finger head there. Very light, frothy, kind of slightly off-white head. Nice looking lager. Let's get a nose on this. Oh wow, very sweet malts, caramel, slight toffee. Again, as it said, 100% malt. Not picking up on any hops, you know, which it says 100% malt, so wouldn't expect to, but no bitterness whatsoever there. Just very sweet, very slightly roasty, but very kind of just caramel, toffee, slight burntness to it there. Wouldn't call it smoky at all, but very sweet, very subtle. Maybe a little bit of like brown sugar, kind of a mapley, kind of just very like molasses, very, very sweet. So I guess I'm just going to go on ahead and jump into this one. That's pretty good, but it is too sweet. I mentioned it looked like sweet tea. That's what it reminds me of. I'm from the South, but unlike most Southerners, I don't like my tea sweet. I like very unsweet tea. I don't like any sugar in it. This tastes like if somebody mixed sweet tea with beer. Very, very sweet. Not any hop character whatsoever to speak of, but it's not totally unbalanced. There is a slight bitterness mid to back of the palate. Slightly, I said it smelled slightly burnt. Tastes a little more burnt on those roasty malts than it smells. Getting a little bit of the burnt, like burnt caramel, like sugar when you burn it in the pan, just kind of that burnt caramely flavor. Slightest bit of black coffee. Excuse me. The slightest bit. It actually balances it out well. I'm not a fan of like really like sweet, like really sweet, flavors in beer. I'm not a big fan of like sweet things in general, but I'm not going to say this beer is bad because of that sweet profile. There are probably a lot of people out there who really like this, and in no way am I going to say that it's like unbalanced. It's pretty well balanced. It's just for my tastes, this is really, really, really sweet up front. It's very like I said, like a maple syrup is what it reminds me of. Molasses, southern sweet tea. That's what I'm picking up on. That's what it tastes at the front of the palate. But then mid to the back of the palate, I do get those nice burnt kind of bitter malts. It almost tastes like if you've ever burnt popcorn in the microwave when you eat it. That burntness that just when the black pieces. Now a lot of people wouldn't eat that, but I mean I don't know. I've eaten it before. Maybe I'm just gross, but there's a burntness there, like mid palate. Just like try to makes your mouth pucker because it's so bitter. That's what I'm picking up on this. It's like super sweet up front, but then it's got a nice bitterness to it from those really roasty malts. This is not my favorite beer by any means. Lagers aren't my favorite style, and I've had a lot of lagers that are better than this. However, I'm not going to rate this really low just because it's not necessarily to my tastes. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would love this beer. So I'm gonna say it's pretty average. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would rate it higher. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would rate it lower. So this being regular beer reviews, I'm gonna rate it as a regular beer. I'm gonna give it average. I'm gonna say 7 out of 10. It's a C. This beer is just okay. I mean, I don't want to put it down and say it's horrible. It's not to my tastes, definitely. It's too sweet up front. I don't want to say it's too bitter at the back end because I like that bitterness. But it's actually pretty well balanced. It's not, unbalanced. It's an okay beer. It's just okay. I'm going to say 7 out of 10. If you see it, pick it up. If you like sweeter beers, you're going to love this because this is really sweet on the front end. I mean, this is really like molasses, like I said. The bitterness does balance well from the caramel, kind of the toffee malts, really roasted, like really as the flavor fades in your mouth, it just gets more bitter, like bitterer and bitterer, just more and more bitter. But in a pretty enjoyable way, actually. This is a pretty refreshing beer. I wouldn't say it's sessionable. Sorry, I did another review earlier, and I had a couple beers before that, so I wouldn't say that this is sessionable because I don't like the sweetness. It's a little off-putting to me. I could probably have 2 of these. I'm going to say I don't want any more. But if you like sweet beers, if you're the type of person who likes really sweet tea, you like putting 2 cups of sugar to a gallon of tea, which I think is disgusting, but if you like it, you'll probably like this beer. It's really sweet. But, yeah. Pick it up if you see it, though. It's really interesting. I like the name. I didn't really pick up a lot of fall beers. This is a year-round brew. This isn't a fall beer, but Blackened Voodoo sounds spooky. Excuse me, it's right before Halloween, so I figured, what the hell. Blackened Voodoo from the Dixie Brewing Company, from me, or Dixie Brewery, from me, gets a 7 out of 10. Pick it up if you see it. Thanks for watching. Keep watching in the future for more reviews. Prost.